Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the life and crimes of James Whitey Bulger, the notorious mobster who led Boston's Winter Hill Gang and had shocking ties with the FBI. If this kind of story intrigues you, hit subscribe and let's get started. James Whitey Bulger was born on September 3, 1929, in Dorchester, Massachusetts, a neighborhood in southern Boston. He was the second of 6 children born to Roman Catholic Irish-American parents. His father was a laborer who lost his arm in an industrial accident, and his family lived in impoverished conditions, at one point even residing in a housing project. The economic struggle and the tough neighborhood he grew up in significantly impacted young Bulger's view of the world, preparing the grounds for his future endeavors in the criminal underworld. Whitey Bulger was surrounded by crime from an early age, given the impoverished nature of his community and the prevalence of gang activity in his neighborhood. By the time he was a teenager, he had already been arrested for larceny. However, it was his time in the federal prison system, including stints at the notorious Alcatraz, that significantly shaped his understanding of organized crime. He served time for crimes like bank robbery and hijacking. These experiences and the criminal connections he made while incarcerated played a significant role in shaping his future criminal endeavors. Interestingly, Bulger also volunteered for MK-Ultra, a CIA program testing the effects of LSD on inmates. The psychological and emotional ramifications of this are still a topic of debate among experts. After his release from prison, Bulger returned to Massachusetts, where he eventually took leadership of the Winter Hill Gang, a formidable Irish-American criminal syndicate. Originally a member of a rival gang, Bulger leveraged his ruthlessness, organizational skills, and criminal connections to rise through the ranks. Eventually, with the departure and imprisonment of previous leaders, he took control of the gang, steering it toward more lucrative criminal enterprises. Whitey Bulger was known for his shrewdness in forming partnerships that would benefit his criminal enterprise. One of the most infamous of these partnerships was with Stephen the Rifleman Flemmi, another prominent figure in organized crime. The partnership was mutually beneficial. Flemmi had connections to the Italian mafia, opening doors that would have otherwise been closed to Bulger's primarily Irish gang. Perhaps the most shocking alliance was with John Connolly, an FBI agent who had grown up in the same neighborhood as Bulger. Connolly recruited Bulger as an informant, a move that would offer Bulger protection and insider information for years. This allowed Bulger to eliminate competition and expand operations without fear of law enforcement intervention. Bulger's empire grew substantially during the late 70s and throughout the 80s. One key moment was the strategic elimination of the rival Italian-American patriarch crime family's influence in Boston, largely achieved through his partnership with the FBI. His control over various unions in Boston also allowed him to monopolize illegal activities like loan sharking, extortion, and gambling in the area. Another pivotal moment was Bulger's move into drug trafficking in the 80s. By controlling the drug trade, he expanded his revenue streams and diversified his criminal enterprise. Despite initial hesitation, Bulger realized that narcotics were the most lucrative illegal commodity, and he could not ignore the potential for profit. With the help of Flemmi and Connolly, Bulger managed to avoid law enforcement scrutiny, making drug trafficking a significant part of his empire. Through a combination of strategic alliances, ruthless elimination of competition, and exploitation of law enforcement relationships, Whitey Bulger managed to create an empire that would make him one of the most notorious crime figures in American history. Stephen Flemmi, often known as the Rifleman, was one of Whitey Bulger's closest associates and a key figure in the Winter Hill Gang. Their relationship was built on mutual trust and a shared vision for the criminal empire. Kevin Weeks was another essential member of the Winter Hill Gang, acting as Bulger's right-hand man for years. Unlike Flemmi, Weeks was not as deeply rooted in organized crime when he joined the gang, but quickly rose through the ranks due to his loyalty and ruthlessness. Several other individuals played crucial roles in the Winter Hill Gang's activities, such as John Martirano, a hitman, and Patrick Nee, an arms trafficker and robber. These members specialized in various activities that helped the gang diversify and expand its operations. While the gang seemed unified from the outside, there were internal tensions and rivalries. Individual members were sometimes at odds with each other over the division of profits, choice of activities, or relationships with other criminal organizations. Bulger's role as an informant added another layer of tension as suspicions arose over who could be trusted. One of the most controversial aspects of Whitey Bulger's criminal career was his status as an FBI informant. In the late 1970s, John Connolly, an FBI agent who grew up in the same South Boston neighborhood as Bulger, convinced him to become an informant. This relationship was initially portrayed as a way for the FBI to get information on the Italian mafia, particularly the Patriarca crime family, which was a primary target for law enforcement at the time. However, as years passed, it became increasingly clear that the relationship was mutually beneficial and crossed ethical lines. The investigation into James Whitey Bulger and his notorious Winter Hill Gang didn't happen overnight. The initial inquiries began in the late 1970s, but these were heavily compromised due to Bulger's status as an FBI informant. Despite being a high-ranking organized crime figure, Bulger used his relationship with corrupt FBI agents to shield himself and his criminal enterprise from scrutiny. Whitey Bulger was a fugitive for over 16 years before being arrested in Santa Monica, California in 2011. At the time of his arrest, he was wanted for a multitude of crimes. The charges filed against him included racketeering, extortion, drug trafficking, conspiracy to commit murder, and money laundering. Most notably, he was charged with involvement in 19 murders. The indictment represented decades of criminal activity and implicated him as the mastermind behind one of the most notorious criminal enterprises in American history. After his arrest, Bulger was extradited to Boston, where his trial began in 2013. The court proceedings were widely publicized and closely followed both in the US and internationally. Throughout the trial, the prosecution presented a vast array of evidence, including testimonies from former associates like Kevin Weeks and Stephen Flemmi, who had become cooperating witnesses. Financial records, wiretap recordings, and even the discovery of weapons and cash at his California residence were used to build the case against him. Bulger's defense attempted to counter by questioning the credibility of the cooperating witnesses and painting Bulger as a victim of FBI corruption. However, they could not overcome the overwhelming evidence against him. In August 2013, Whitey Bulger was found guilty on 31 out of 32 counts, including involvement in 11 murders. He was sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms plus 5 years and was ordered to pay $19.5 million in restitution and forfeit an additional $25.2 million to the government. His conviction and the subsequent revelations about his relationship with the FBI led to a widespread revaluation of informant practices and sparked outrage among the public who had been unaware of the depth of corruption within law enforcement agencies. And there we have it, the disturbing and complex story of Whitey Bulger. This isn't just a crime tale, it's a dark look at systemic corruption in America. What do you think about Bulger's relationship with the FBI? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you found this story compelling, give us a thumbs up and share the video. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.